Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am here to bring you a book haul. So I haven't done a book haul in 2 or 3 months, and my books were beginning to stack up, and I thought it is about time to catch you up on all of the books that have come into my possession since I think the beginning of April. I think the last book haul I did was stuff that I got in March. So yeah, I have a nice big stack of books that I'm going to get into. We're going to split these into a couple of different categories, and let's just jump in. Traditional book haul. These are the books that I now own. So I'm going to start off by talking about a few of the Owl Crate books that have come into my possession in the past 3 months. The first of those is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I don't have my physical copy here because I did pack it away, but I didn't want to forget to mention it. If you want to hear all of my thoughts about this book, I will leave a link to my spoiler-free review up on the screen. If you want to check out any of these Owl Crate unboxings, I will link all 3 of them down in the description below also. The Upside of Unrequited is a fabulous book. It is a spin-off of Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which I'm sure many of you have already heard of. The central character of this book is a girl named Molly Peskin-Suso. She is Jewish, she's fat, and she has an anxiety condition. And this is kind of the story of her first love and her changing relationship with her sister Cassie, as Cassie has her first girlfriend, and Molly's relationship with her moms. It is fabulous and definitely going to be one of my favorites of the year. I read it early as an ebook, and I'm so excited that I now have a physical copy thanks to Owl Crate. The next Owl Crate book that I want to mention is Eliza and Her Monsters. This is by Francesca Zappia, and this is just supposed to be fandom-tastic. This book is about a girl named Eliza who writes a webcomic that's super popular, but no one at school knows that she's the one who creates this webcomic, and then a guy named Wallace moves into school, and he is the biggest fan fiction writer for this comic, and it's just supposed to be kind of a romance from there, celebrating fandom, especially online fandom, plus the main character is dealing with anxiety. There's supposed to be a lot here. I have heard fabulous things about this book. A lot of my friends have been giving it really rave reviews, so I'm hoping I love it, and I am excited to eventually read it. The next couple of books I want to mention both came in the same June Owl Crate box because it did come with 2 books this month, and the first of those is New World Rising by Jennifer Wilson. This is an indie release. It is dystopian about a girl named Phoenix. Phoenix witnessed the murder of her parents at age 11, and her mother's final words to her were to be strong and to survive, but life outside the sanctuary is not very livable. So it seems like it's all about surviving in this outside world. It's probably pretty fast-paced and sci-fi, and that is one of the books that came in June. The other book that came in the June Owl Crate was The Sandcastle Empire. This is by Kayla Olson. This is another book about survival because that was kind of the theme of June. This is about a girl named Eden, and she lives in this world that is controlled by a group called the Wolf Pack. They're really ruthless, but she knows that there is this one island that is a true neutral, and so she goes there to this island, and it seems like everything's going to be peaceful, and then one of her friends goes missing, and things kind of get more full of tension from there. I've heard a lot of people compare this to the TV show Lost, you know, island, people disappearing, creepy island in general. That is kind of what this book is about. It is kind of dystopian, kind of sci-fi again, but mostly survival based. So those were the 4 books that I've received in the past few months from Owl Crate, and now I'm going to move on to a couple of gifts. The first gift is again one I don't have, but I really don't want to forget that I got it, and that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. The reason I do not have the physical copy of this book is that my girlfriend Janelle has the copy currently. I don't know a ton about this book other than the fact that it's really hyped and almost universally loved. It's kind of an end of the world story, but one that's supposed to be a bit more mellow. It's not like sci-fi, it's just kind of a more realistic possible end of the world, and I also know that it follows a theater troupe. I have heard nothing but fabulous things about this book, and it is one of the 2 books that I got for Easter. Very excited to eventually read it. The other book that I got for Easter was Where Am I Now? True Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame by Mara Wilson. You may recognize Mara Wilson as a child actress. You probably saw a lot. I sure did when I was younger. So this is just supposed to be a book about Mara Wilson growing up as a child star, what she's doing now, how she grew up from that time and became the adult that she has become. I'm really excited about this one. I have always loved Mara Wilson, and I'm so excited to learn more about her. I just love reading memoirs about like really inspiring ladies or ladies that I super admire, and this is just another great one to add to the stack. I have a couple more gifts that I want to mention. First of all, this is a Not Your Villain sampler from C.B. Lee. I've already shown this off in a New York City haul. So this is a sampler. It is only the first chapter of Not Your Villain, but Not Your Villain is the sequel to Not Your Sidekick. This book is about a trans guy named Bells, and it's one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This doesn't come out until October 5th, but I am thrilled to even have the first chapter in my hands. This series is basically just about queer superheroes, and it is fun and exciting and very much in the vein of stuff like Sky High or Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, where they're tropey and superhero-y, but they embrace the fun of the genre. I adored Not Your Sidekick, so even though this is just a little sampler, it is very exciting that I received it. And the last gift that I want to mention is kind of a weird one, but it's a gift and I want to show it off because it's a book, and that is this book called Fight On. This was a gift from my aunt. It was a graduation present that she bought back when I first started going to college, and then she's just been saving it to give to me when I graduated. It is just this really beautiful book full of like quotes and thoughts and sentiments about fighting hard and about believing in yourself. It's all just like really motivational and pretty and full of all of these really nice pictures, and it was so nice of my aunt to think of this for me, and the fact that she's held on to it for this long is so impressive too. So she gave this to me along with a different graduation gift, but I really wanted to show it off because it's a book and it's sweet, and I know it's something that I'm going to come back and read from time to time for sure. Next, I want to show off a couple of graphic novels. They are both about queer witches, weirdly enough, but I mean, I guess that's not that weird. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm into. The first of those is this, and this is Power and Magic, the Queer Witch Comics Anthology. I got this forever ago. This was first started as like a Kickstarter, that's how it originated, and then when I was at Mocha Fest, which is an indie comic and graphic novel and all that kind of stuff, event that happens in New York City, I saw this and it just seemed perfect for me. Let me just read, featuring the work of 17 women, demigirls, and bi-gender creators of color, Power and Magic presents an experience as rich and diverse as womanhood itself. I think this is going to be a really great collection of stories about queer witches and witches of color and women of color, and I just think that there's going to be so much awesomeness in here. Plus, look at the absolutely gorgeous purple cover of this book, and like, the back is beautiful too. I believe the inside is all in black and white, and there are all of these different art styles from the 17 different people who contributed. I'm really excited to finally read this one. And the other graphic novel thing that has to do with witches is Spell on Wheels. This is a comic series by Leth, Megen, Levens, and Marissa, Louise. So this is a trade combining 5 single-issue comics that are the entirety of Spell on Wheels. It is about these 3 witches, and they go on like a revenge road trip against one of their former significant others. It sounds so good. So I have to show you the thing that first convinced me to read this book, and that is the cover of the first single issue comic. This is supposed to be very supernatural, but like if you like women, and especially queer women and women of color, which Supernatural doesn't. So it's supposed to be all in that vein. Plus I know at the very least Leth, I'm not sure about the other 2 creators, are obsessed with Buffy, so I'm sure it's going to have a lot of those vibes as well. This is all I've ever wanted, and honestly, I'll probably be reading it before the end of the month, maybe at the very beginning of July, but I know that I'm going to adore this comic. And finally, I have a little stack to show off. So back in like May, when I first got back from school, I did an unhaul video where I got rid of like 30, 35 books, somewhere in there. I sell back most of my books to a local used bookstore and got a bunch of credits, and these are the books that I purchased with those credits. First of all, I have a couple of books that I have already read but just needed hard copies of. We've got the Carnivorous Carnival. This is the 9th book in a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket, and this finally completes my dreams. I have owned all of the series of unfortunate events books, but I always had 2 of them in paperback, and I have really, really wanted to complete the series in hardcover instead of having these 2 paperback books just sticking out. This finally completes that goal. I now have all 13 books in hardcover, and everything is good and okay again. Series of Unfortunate Events is one of my favorite book series of all time. It's a middle grade series about 3 pretty unfortunate orphans. I adore it. I just love it so much, and now they all look so nice together, and that's really all I could have ever asked for. And the other book that I purchased that I've already read is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I know, terrible sticker on the front. I'm working on getting it off. I have a bunch of tricks that I use to get this stuff off. I just haven't used any of them yet. So when I saw this copy, I knew I really wanted it because I already have another Agatha Christie book like this. It's this one, Mystery of the Blue Train, and I really wanted something that was in like the same style. But also, I read Murder on the Orient Express in high school from the library and loved it, and then I've just never gotten around to buying my own copy. This is a great classic murder mystery story about a murder that takes place on a train, and the detective Hercule Poirot as he tries to solve the mystery. It is going to be turned into a movie in November with an all-star cast, which I'm tentative about, but I love this book. I really like Agatha Christie, and this book is kind of the thing that started that, and so I really wanted my own copy of it finally. And speaking of Agatha Christie, I also picked up And Then There Were None. Now, this does not match the other books, but it was the only copy at the bookstore, and okay, I'm really behind on one of my challenges for the year. Not really behind, but one of my goals for myself was to read 2 new Agatha Christie books this year, and I have read no new Agatha Christie books this year. So when I was at the bookstore and I saw this for like a couple of dollars, I decided to grab it because I decided at the beginning of the year this is one of the 2 I wanted to read. I want to read this and The Murder of Dan Aykroyd. That one wasn't there, but this one was. I know absolutely nothing about And Then There Were None, which is exactly how I want it. I know it's another classic mystery. I know this is probably one of her most well-loved, and I'm super excited to see how the mystery unfolds and to start catching up on my goal to read more by Agatha Christie this year. I also picked up More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera while I was there. This is Adam Silvera's debut. I had never read anything by him before, and since picking this up, I have read it. It's about a 16-year-old boy named Aaron Soto, and there is this thing in this world where you can get a procedure that will suppress memories. That's kind of a thing that runs through a lot of the story, but it's also about Aaron discovering his sexuality, and it's also about the fact that he is still recovering from his father committing suicide and Aaron also attempting to commit suicide. There are a lot of trigger warnings in this book, just so you know. There's trigger warnings, like I said, for depression, for suicide, attempted suicide, domestic abuse, homophobia, like really terrible homophobia. So know all of that going in. It was really well written though. I do want to read more of Adam Silvera's books, and I'm glad that I finally got around to reading this. Plus, I actually might like this copy a little bit more than I like the yellow hardcover, so I was glad that this is the cover that I wound up picking up when I finally did buy this book. So, completely unlike me, I also picked up one adult high fantasy book, and that is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I don't know a ton about this book, except for what I know from, like, the people who I trust that have highly recommended it. I know it's adult high fantasy. I also know it is incredibly diverse. I know that this has a lot of queer characters. I know it has a lot of characters that are people of color. That's mostly what I know about the series, and the fact that so many people really love it. So this is a purchase that's not quite like me, and I can't tell you anything about the plot because I just don't know. But I'm trusting some people here on this one and hoping that I love it. And the final book that's going to be in this book haul is one that I'm sure everyone has kind of heard at least a little bit about at this point, and that is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. So, first of all, I'm kind of into this paperback. I really like the hardcover, but when I saw this paperback, I just couldn't help myself. I had to have it. So Homegoing starts in Ghana in the 18th century with these 2 half-sisters who live in these different villages, and they don't know that the other exists. And the entire book follows like their parallel lives and the lives of their descendants. This has been so loved on BookTube. It's gotten a lot of love in the world in general. It's just one that I feel like so many people have read and loved at this point, and I was really starting to feel left out. So I'm glad that I finally picked this one up. I'm still really into the cover, and I'm hoping that I really, really enjoy reading it because it seems like almost everybody else I've talked to has just loved this book and the writing, and yeah. Okay, guys, here you go. These are all of the books that I got in the months of April, May, and June. Most of them also— oh, that was getting too precarious. I hope that you enjoyed hearing me talk about all of these books, and I hope you enjoyed seeing everything that's been added to my book collection in the past couple of months. If you have read any of these books, or in general you have thoughts to share about what I might think of any of these, please share all of those things in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!